Hey everyone, thanks for coming up after lunch. What was your favorite bite? I had maybe too many favorite bites, but I love getting to see the cooking demos and then getting to actually try the food out there, which is just kind of a rare experience. So today we've got a panel, but before our panel, Daniel Dunguinness is gonna show us a couple recipes he has created for the Stanford dining halls, and he's not there. He's right there. Anyway, so Daniel's gonna come up and he's gonna show us some dishes. I'm gonna pepper him with questions. And after that, we'll have this really wonderful panel. Oh, I didn't know that, sorry. I'm so sorry. Thank you. I thought that was the talk that we just had. I'm sorry.
Sometimes as a program curator, we put a lot of, we're so excited, we have so many content that we want to incorporate, and so we confuse people. So that's all on me. But it is my pleasure, first and foremost, we are happy to welcome Pearson Croney-Clark, who is the Public Affairs Manager for Oatly, coming out of Washington, D.C. We have this session on advocacy, and this was really built around this idea. Pearson's going to talk about working with the government and how you advocate at that level. And then we have panelists who will be able to bring the college, working with both college students and higher ups, talking about, the C-suite. That's sort of the buzzy term we all talk about. We'll have Amanda Cohen, who will talk about, advocating, being a pioneer in a vegetarian restaurant before it became kind of I don't know if it's a cool thing now or not. But and we're gonna have Michael Panfil, who registered for Global Plant Forward and then didn't know that I'm not putting him on the spot right now, but I had asked him, we always love to have people, operators who are in our audience, and really enthusiastic about what we're doing to also give their feedback. And then we have Michelle Thorne, who you saw earlier. She has a wealth of knowledge in terms of everything from marketing to the work that she's doing with the Good Meat Project. So now it's my pleasure to welcome Pearson Croney-Clark from Oatly.
Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for being here. I'm really honored to be speaking alongside so many incredible food systems advocates. I'm just really blown away, honestly, by what I've seen yesterday and today. I am Pearson Croney-Clark. I work on the Oatly Public Affairs team. And like so many of you in this room, we're working to build momentum to change the food system in favor of people and planet. And today, as we all know, our system is pretty unhealthy for both. So what does this work look like exactly from a public affairs perspective? Many of you might have this kind of thing in mind when you think about a lobbyist or an advocate. It's the old guard of lobbying. They're still working in DC. Big interests, they have deep pockets, and they have massive resources and deep benches of lobbyists. They're there to prevent a change of the status quo, and they're often recklessly pursuing profits at the expense of our health and of our food system's health. Our operation looks and feels a little bit different, but we still, as food systems change makers, want to build the same amount of power as this kind of imaginary lobbyist that you see here. And that's why I like to really manifest this power by calling ourselves Big Oat. So why do we need to change things? We just heard this statistic. The food system makes up about 1/3 of global emissions. That's a huge number. We're facing in the US and all over the world public health crises with non-communicable diseases on the rise, and something's gotta give. We need a food system that really works for planet and for people at the same time. But you all know this is a long road. Many of you are doing this work. There's a lot of people against us who want things to stay the same. And we're really running out of time to curb our emissions. We know how dire the climate crisis is. And the big emitters who want to keep things staying the same have really much deeper pockets than we do and more influence. On the other hand, climate anxiety, inertia can be overwhelming for people. Your everyday consumer or citizen just doesn't know where to start when they're acting for climate. And then other people, when they go to grocery stores and engage with our food system in any way, they might just be too busy or too tired at the end of the day to really consider what their food system's kind of engagement is when they're putting food on their table. So all of these things considered, it sounds very overwhelming. Where do we go from here? What would we consider to be success in our advocacy efforts? We want policymakers to understand a few things, and I think when I say these to many of you in this room, it's going to sound really obvious, like why don't policymakers know this already? This sounds very straightforward, but I can tell you from being in DC and internationally even that these things we're not even close to there yet, and we have a lot of work to do. So first, we want policymakers to know and understand that plant-forward diets are really a nutritious way to help solve our public health and climate crises. Second, that we are not enemies of farmers. Plant-based food companies, chefs, distributors, all of us in this room, we're supportive of farmers and we want them to succeed. And third, change is imperative. The private sector, food companies like us at Oatly, food service companies, chefs, all of us, we are already making change quickly, and we can be great public sector partners when the government is looking to also step into making change alongside us. So how do we get there? I don't know what happened here, but I'll translate this for you. I essentially wanted to say that you're already doing the heavy lifting. You're doing the work on the ground, and that's the most important part. In our communities across the country and around the world, you're doing the most important part of this. And I know this work looks different for many of us working on food systems change. We might not always agree on the product, the ingredient, the company, the system, the way we go about it, but I know we're all working towards the end goal of a healthier food system. And I know our panelists are going to speak to what their work looks like, and I'm really excited to hear from them about that. But for Oatly, this work lies in making oat-based products and getting them into the hands of you all and our consumers. They're a nutritious, delicious product. They generally have a lower climate impact than cow's milk, and offering eaters up a lifestyle solution that makes it easy for them to just go to the grocery store and make a difference in the food system just with one easy choice. We're one part of a larger effort. So many of you are offering up your own exciting solutions, and I want to show a little bit about what our work out on the ground looks like. Not everyone is on board with more plant-forward diets, with kind of changing the way people eat or the way that people are able to choose what they eat. And so sometimes we have to get a little creative in working with people and with governments to ensure that the plant-forward and plant-based sectors have kind of an equal access and equal level playing field. And I know talking about regulation and policy can kind of get boring, so we try to get creative, and we work with our creative team a lot. We call them the Oatly Department of Mind Control, trying to really get into the minds and hearts of people and make them think or make them make a change, whatever it may be that they're compelled to do when they see some of our work. So I'll just share a few examples with you. In Sweden, we launched a ditch milk campaign, which, as you can imagine, it caused quite a stir. Our message was pretty simple: swap your cow's milk for your oat milk and make a difference with your emissions. We gave away a lot of free lattes. We put ads in newspapers, up on billboards like this, and the dairy lobby was pretty mad about this. So they sued us, and in court, we were told that we were not allowed to make comparative statements between our product and cow's milk. A little bit difficult because we are a direct alternative. So what we did is we stuck another billboard in front of this billboard, and we just put the words, "Google milk." We felt that the evidence pointed to our facts when people Googled, and the search term in Sweden went up about 800% on Google. It got the conversation flowing, we influenced opinion, and we started a debate around the topic, which is really what we were hoping to do. In the Netherlands, and I'll translate for you, it says, "This is not lemonade." They tried to put a tax on all plant-based milk while not taxing cow's milk. Cow's milk was exempted. And it says this is not lemonade because they called it a lemonade tax. That's essentially what they call any drink that's not kind of your milk or water in Dutch, apparently. So I learned that's new. We mobilized the public because we felt that this was really unfair. You know, if you want to levy a tax on all products, sure, but when you're going to target a plant-based alternative, we feel that we should really be on a level playing field. So we spoke out. We mobilized the public online with billboards. We put this up all over the place. And there was one Dutch citizen who felt equally compelled to take on this subject, and we helped spread her petition all over. We garnered over 50,000 signatures and managed to get a 1-year delay on the decision, and lawmakers are still figuring out what they want to do, but it gives us now more time to advocate for that level playing field that we're looking for. In our advocacy work, another one major topic that we really always want to bring to the forefront is the emissions of the food industry. It's our belief that we can't really expect consumers to make more sustainable choices, or we can't even allow them to make that choice if they can't find out the impact that different foods have on the planet. So we petitioned the Bundestag in Germany to make a law requiring climate footprint information be printed on food packaging. And if you look at our package, we have our climate label right on the front. What we want to be able to do is give people that choice, give people as much information as possible. They get it with the nutrition guidelines, they get it with that fact box on the back, and we hope to bring the same information level to the climate awareness piece of that so they can, pick and choose based on their personal preference. So we showed up in metros, billboards, coffee shops with these petitions that essentially in English says climate labeling. And we got another time over 50,000 signatures in less than a month. And this meant that the parliament in Germany was required to discuss the law. And this led to our ability to create a really fantastic climate labeling coalition with a bunch of other wonderful companies and NGOs in Germany. And it's now making its way through the German legislative process. So we'll see where that goes. We continued a similar campaign in the US with social media, billboards, and newspaper ads showing the world our product climate footprint really big where they all could see it. And we challenged dairy companies to do the same, to create this equal playing field of information so that consumers could make their choice based off of all of the information. So we offered this free ad space that you could see here to any dairy company who was willing to also put their climate label on their package. They could go on their website, on our website, fill out a survey of 72 very easy questions, and create their own product climate footprint. And you might be surprised to hear we're still waiting to hear back, but I'm keeping my fingers crossed that we'll get another company up there with us and share more information with consumers about their food system impact. Our last example is a little bit more policy-focused, kind of your classic advocacy around changing our agricultural system. So in the US, we probably all know that far too much funding goes to big emitters, and we're not quickly enough converting to sustainable practices. We need to diversify our agricultural system and ensure that farmers are paid to transition to these practices. So we really doubled down on the big oat thing. We stuck it right on this paper that we took all over Congress, and we took to the Hill, largely inspired by the work that we do with farmers in our pilot program in the Midwest. They fed into this document, they came with us on the Hill, they spoke to the change that needs to happen and how it could be best made for them. And we did this in coalition with NGOs, other companies, and congresspeople who are also hoping to make a change. And we just got our voice out there into the world as one small piece of trying to push for a better food system in Washington. So we at Oatly are going to continue using eye-grabbing, exciting tactics. We're trying to be more and more creative every time to push to change the food system. I know many of you are already doing advocacy work, and it's really exciting to see it. But if you're taking your first, sorry about this, I'll just translate myself. If you're taking your first steps into advocacy, remember that your work on the ground is really the first step. You're already doing it. You're already an advocate if you're doing the work of a chef, of a distributor, anyone who's pushing for a better food system. But if you want to head to DC or any other government, remember that you can take your creativity, your talent, what makes you really special, and you can bring this to your advocacy work. People in DC love to say that the best advocates are chefs, moms, and farmers. I know a lot of you are one, if not many of those things. So I'd encourage you to get out there, to work together in coalition. It'll take all of us to fight to make a better food system. I'll turn it over now to my fellow advocates. I'm excited to hear what they're working on. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Now we're going to bring Larissa back up. I do want to apologize to Pearson because she put together the most beautiful presentation, and now we know we're going to save things as PDFs so they don't change. So those, whatever those bugs are that are in our system, we're going to get those out. But so here's Larissa. Larissa, I'm going to tell you if you want your wireless mic, you've got that.
Hey, remember me? Okay, so thank you for the Oatly presentation. I loved it. I do want to see the Google Milk billboard, though, so I'm going to Google that later. So let's welcome Daniel Dungeness from Stanford Dining. He's the executive chef at Stanford Dining, Hospitality and Auxiliaries, and he works on a ton of cool stuff, and he's going to show us 2 dishes that put plants to the test and that got students into him. And so he's going to show them. I'm going to ask some questions, and then we'll jump into our panel with Amanda Cohen, Michael Panfil, and Michelle Thorne, and Dan, and it's going to be great.
Yes. Thank you, Larissa. It's amazing how food is a way to communicate with people. You know, it's one of the very few mediums that I believe that you use all 5 senses to experience. And what's really neat because, you know, that language barrier sometimes, or even let's say when something doesn't translate from a PowerPoint to a Google Sheet, you know, you're still able to understand, you know, what the person is trying to convey because you can use, you know, your sight, the sound, you know, the ingredients to talk to the audience. So I'm going to go over a couple sandwich recipes that we do at Stanford. And I'm going to go talk about how we kind of formulated those ideas. And hopefully from my presentation today that you'll be able to kind of understand the type of environment that we have there and, you know, our relationship with each other in terms of how we come up with ideas, how we scale those ideas, and also how we test them. We do have challenges, just like any food service operation. We have our, you know, mistakes and failures, but we have a special way in terms of how we navigate those things and kind of moving forward. So we're going to go do a collard green melt, which is completely vegan, and we will also do a Philly cheesesteak melt, which is also going to be fully vegan. So I'm going to start by heating up the collard greens.
And I've talked to a few folks out here that run like big, like a Penn State guy, universities that are trying to figure out how to bring plant-based to their students. And I think like Dan's at Stanford, and I think the kids are like, yes, we want what you're making, vegan sandwiches, but then you go to the middle of the country or further east, and you might not have such an easy time with it. But what Daniel gets to do at Stanford is does these quick like tests with the students to see if they like it. And Daniel, maybe you can tell us about how you test things.
So what we do, we have different relationships and programs and systems with different stakeholders. So for the students, we have what's called a Dining Ambassador program. And we meet once a week, and these are usually representative students from the dining halls. And we have a conversation, a dialogue. It's kind of interesting because the first meeting that we have of the quarter with these students, they have a long list of complaints. This is wrong, this is bad. I say, hold on a second. You know, we want to be completely transparent with, you know, how we do our operation, and we let them know what we're able to offer them because, you know, we want them to understand that we put a lot of thought into the ingredient that goes in front of them.
But you even have like, don't you have like a little table where they can taste things really quickly?
Yes, so we also have what's called a tasting table. So we will run or test, you know, special dishes or things that we want them to sample. For example, we had a tasting table with seaweed the other day, and you know, we want to get that.
What'd they think?
What's that?
What'd they think about the seaweed?
It's mixed. You know, sometimes you know, some students have never had that, and some students are, you know, are looking for that. And the main thing is that we start that dialogue, we start that engagement. I think that now more than ever, it's important. The food is always the center, but now it's more important to actually tell the story and have the engagement and the interaction with your customer base. We're at a point now where you know, the customer base's palate is very educated and it's very affluent. We did a study. It's called a Repurpose with a Purpose. And it was interesting because the way that it found, I'm actually adding dressing to this
And
slaw.
yeah, tell us about the dressings before you finish your
Sure.
story. And the cheese, I'm so curious.
There's a lot of ingredients, so I have to. So the slaw is a very simple one, but we're using a vegan mayo. And the vegan mayo, the base for that is aquafaba, which is...
Oh, so like homemade vegan mayo.
we use the one that's purchased.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we actually use this one. Which is curated. We purchased this from
Oh, Sir Kensington.
Yeah, UNFI.
Okay. You guys know Sir Kensington?
They provide us with our specialty products, such as vegan mayo, Earth Balance, things that are also part of our food allergy at Stanford program. We have a menu that is actually free of the top 9 allergens, And we created what's called a purple pantry. So that's another program that we have there. There's dishes that we create and we make available to the students that cannot have, the general top allergies,
Allergens.
which includes, gluten, nuts, tree nuts.
And sesame seeds now. That's the
Sesame seeds.
ninth.
Yes.
Yes. And what's in this? Onions?
So there's onions, there's shaved red and green cabbage, and then we have the Kensington mayo, and I'm going to season this with a little bit of salt and pepper to bring this together. So when we design recipes at Stanford, we also have to keep in mind that we need to scale these. We're feeding, and I have the second busiest dining hall on campus, which is Lakeside. It has a southern theme. And we serve anywhere from about 2,500 to 3,000 students a day. In the summer, that actually can double or triple, and we'll serve anywhere from 4,000 to 5,000 students a day. So whenever we're kind of concepting out these dishes, we want to make sure that we're able to not only assemble them in a cost-effective manner, but also scale them as well. So,
how many dishes do you try to have that are vegan or plant-based, plant-forward on the menu
that's
every
a really
day?
great question. Usually our main protein, there's always a comparable entree that is vegan, vegetarian. That's just the way that our menu is designed. Whenever we run a special, we will also have a version of that. There are times where we will work on the format of this. Is this hot?
And how long does the slaw need to marinate in the...
You can
mayo?
do it a little bit in advance. You don't want to do it too far in advance, just the whole fact that it's going to release moisture. And because of the way that the nature of this sandwich, it's going to
And is that mayo on the sandwich?
What's that?
Is that mayo on the sandwich
This
also?
is
Or
a
butter?
smart balance.
A smart balance, okay.
If we're not making this vegan, this would be butter. But we have a spread that is, I should pull it out here, is earth balance. And it's kind of interesting because when we were designing our vegan dishes, we kind of noticed that our food allergy program is actually free of milk. So, and it's kind of evolved and changed over time because when we originally were doing items that the students could eat that had the top 9 allergies, we're very limited. We did not have a lot of options. So now you see providers like Oatly, places like, create products like this that we're able to use, and that gives us more of a wide range to offer the students something, that is comparable. Because, you have someone that comes into the dining hall and, they see all their classmates having pizza, and it's like, well, I can't have a pizza. What can we do in order to make sure that we create that inclusive, community? And that's the thing that, we try to do with a lot of the chefs is, we try to challenge ourselves in terms of, how can we create these dishes and also, provide value to the students, also educate them.
Do you track like how many people are vegan ordering vegan dishes, or do you track that? I know you have a lot of data.
So one great thing about Stanford is that the dining halls are living laboratories. The thing that is really neat about the programs, or let's say the dishes that we do, is that we get instant feedback right away. So we're going to find out if the students are going to eat it or not. And the interesting story behind this dish, so we have a southern theme paired with our dining hall, and we always have collard greens. So we served a lot of collard greens during Black History Month. We actually partner with Sherman Farms, which is based out of Fresno. So Donald Sherman was sending us all his collard greens during that time. And we had an idea of actually doing a sandwich out of it. And none of us, it's kind of funny, because none of us actually thought it was going to turn out to be good. It's just a collard green sandwich. There's no meat in it. And when we put it together, we cut it, and we'll show you in a bit how after we assemble it. We put it together, and we slice a cross-section. We served the students, and they ate all of them. We went through about, I think, 600 to 700 sandwiches that day. And, that's the one thing that's really nice about working in that environment, is that we're able to think of an idea, involve stakeholders all the way down to the farmers at some, in some cases, and then see at the end of the day, can I sell it? Is somebody going to take it? And actually at this point, I know that, I know Larissa, you were talking about how diners, sometimes they don't want to decide. They want it just given to them. And I think that when you look at your diner or your customer, it's a balance of, do you want them to be able to customize something, or do you want the decision taken out of their hands? And right now, with the way that the climate is with the students and the environment that we see that they don't want to have to make the decision. You know, maybe they want a couple tweaks at the end, but literally they want that decision taken out of their hands. They say, give me something that's well put together, you know, that is curated, and let me appreciate that. And I think with, you know, Chef Andrew's presentation yesterday, it shows us how important that engagement is. You know, it's not so much that we put together great food, but also, you know, we explain and we teach them and educate them along the way so that they know what they're eating.
Now, I know, you know, we don't want to say that it's low fat or healthy or, you know, saving the climate or sustainable. Do you give them that message later? Or do you guys like kind of tout how sustainable the students are being in the dining hall later, not in the moment?
It's interesting because, you know, when I talk to students or we talk to resident fellows or professors on campus, everyone is interested in sustainability. They want to know that what we're doing is, you know, friendly and encouraging, you know, for a better environment. But in terms of, you know, when do they want that messaging? And we actually see that they actually want that messaging later. Right now, we're actually doing a study with Winnow. I'm not sure if you guys have heard of it before, but it's an AI camera that will actually analyze food waste when you're scraping food waste into the bin. And the one thing that you know, a lot of students have a lot of interest on it, but you know, they're working on where does that food waste actually occur. And I've talked to you know, we work directly with the Graduate School of Business and the professors there, and they actually believe that that messaging should occur before the student actually takes food to their plate. And the reason why they say that is because the only thing that's going to lower food waste at that point is if you eat more food. So we want them to kind of be mindful of what they're taking at that point in time.
And you did an interesting study of scoop size for protein, and I think you told me that if the spoon was too big, they took too much. If it was too small, they still took too much because then they took 2 spoonfuls. Where did you guys net out on the protein scoop size?
So we played with a little bit of, I think with a 4-ounce and a 3-ounce portion.
And I know I'm making this really hard because you've got a demo, a dish, and actually another dish, 2 dishes.
Well, I have really great support.
Thankfully, we've got this lovely CIA helper.
Yeah, from Chef Corey and Chef Rebecca here, so they're doing an incredible job.
Thank you, team of student CIAers.
Sorry, what was
So
your
the protein scoops, you had a 3-ounce and a 4-ounce.
Yeah, so we did a 3-ounce and a 4-ounce portion, and we tested at one of the smaller dining halls. They do about 400 to 500 students per meal period. And if you think about it, if they're taking from the scoop and they're walking through a line, they're going to go ahead and take that. Now, that's only 1 ounce, but if you multiply that times 100, you know, times 3 meal periods, and you kind of scale that, all of a sudden that turns out to be quite a lot of protein. Mm-hmm. So we kind of look at things like that with portion size. There's an interesting test where they actually reduced the portion size from 4 ounces to 2, and they thought that was actually going to save. But if you think about it, if you're going through a buffet line, and this is where I start to have fun because I look at behavior. If you're going through a buffet line and you have a scoop, but it's too small, you're going to scoop what? Twice or 3 times.
Yeah.
Versus if you have one that's, let's say, from a 4 to a 3, it still looks good, that perceived value, and you scoop it onto your plate and you kind of move on. I remember 7 years ago, I was interviewing for True Food Kitchen, and I was looking at their plate. They had an ahi tuna salad, and they were serving 2.5 ounces. And I was like, whenever I saw we butchered, we would always serve 4 ounces. And I would wonder, I was like, you know what, that's the portion size I'm used to. Could I actually serve that to somebody? But the perceived value, when you shingle it nice on top, and when you eat the salad, it's, you know, it's satiating, it's satisfying. You know, it has that ahi tuna, that buzzword that you're going to feel that you're getting that value. So that's where I work with operators. That's where we kind of see those ideas implemented in the dining hall.
And just to get in the weeds, what kind of cheese is that, and did it melt?
So this is a Daya cheese.
Daya, okay.
And
what do you guys all think about vegan cheeses? Are they getting better? Are they already good enough? Okay, raise your hand if you think they're getting better. That's a lot of you. That's awesome. Okay, great.
yeah, this makes sauce.
Oh, it's a double stack.
Yes, this is a
Ooh,
double
no
stack.
wonder they liked
because
it.
collard greens release a lot of moisture, and
It's like a club. It's like a collard club.
this works perfect.
And we still have one more dish to get through, Daniel, and
Yes,
we have
and
6 minutes. I'm so sorry.
And we will get
Tick
through
tock,
this.
tick tock.
We'll make this happen. Okay. Okay, so here we go.
Oh, let's get that. Yeah,
There's the cross section of that.
nice.
And
If I wasn't so full, I would want a bite.
There we go.
And have you ever launched something after students liked it that didn't quite work?
So the way that we test things very small. So we'll have a tasting table or we'll run a special. And because of the communication that we have with our stakeholders and our customer base, we pivot and we adjust very quickly. Some of the things, actually, the one idea that didn't work, and we wanted to have takeaways in the dining hall. And of course, during the pandemic, everything was individually wrapped. What we noticed was that they were actually taking way too much because they were able to, walk with it. So now we thought that to-go program would be successful, and that's something that they needed. But when we looked at it in terms of like the amount of food that was being taken, it actually did not work out well for us in that sense. In the sense that, let's say a student does need food taken to go, we do have a late plate or a online ordering system that they can kind of order from so that they can able to take. But in terms of, students taking food from the dining halls, that didn't really work in our favor. Just
Because they were wasting too much?
They were wasting too much.
Okay. And you were tracking that by food waste trash cans that are out in the
Yes.
dorms and whatever?
So just to give you an idea, fast forward back to COVID when everything was in containers, just for one service, and this is the largest dining hall, we're going through 1,500 containers, meal period. If you multiply that times 3, that's 4,500 a day. So when you start thinking of things like that, and the one thing that's nice about having dining ambassadors or having these committees is that when we have that dialogue, they understand that, and they understand like, hey, what are we trying to achieve? Because it comes in line with the goals of the university.
Yeah.
In order to offer a sustainable dining program.
So let's jump to the recipe real quick so that you can tell people what we're doing.
We'll hop through this real fast.
Giant daikon,
So
gorgeous.
we took a daikon radish, and I'm going to go ahead and work on the Philly at this point. So one of the chefs actually came up with a really great idea of using a daikon radish for a Philly cheesesteak. And the way that we prep this is we will go ahead and shave it. So I'll shave a decent amount here, and we will, can I have that other bowl? Grab this. We will go ahead and salt it.
And you're salting it, why?
And
Just
we're
seasoning?
salting it to draw out the moisture.
Okay.
So what we'll do is we'll do this at scale, and we'll salt it to basically kind of dehydrate it, and we'll let it sit for about 20 minutes. And once it purges, we'll go ahead and rinse the salt off, and we'll put it in a perforated pan, and we'll let it dry overnight. So this is kind of what you get. Okay. And what this kind of does is it allows a really snap texture when you kind of bite into it. So Chef Rebecca right now, she's going ahead and sauteing off our mushrooms, peppers, and onions for the Philly cheesesteak, and then we're going to go ahead and make our cheese sauce. And we're going to go ahead and bring this together here.
Do you use, would you use all kinds? There's so many cheese brands. Are you sticking to Daya, or are you trying all kinds?
Our primary one right now that we use in all the dining halls is Daya, just because it's free of the top 9 allergens. And it's a little hot.
So allergens seems to be a big driver of what you do.
So one of the things that we do at Stanford is we try to make sure that all the needs are met of all the students, especially the voices that are not necessarily the loudest at the table. It's something that we challenge ourselves to do. And we also make sure that everyone is kind of taken care of. And that's the one thing that we've done very well at our level in terms of the goals of our department and things like that.
Yeah. So you're melting cheese, and is the daikon going to go into that cheese? Or that's just like a sauce for the sandwich?
This is going to be a cheese sauce for the sandwich, and I'm actually going to add all of this in there so it kind of brings it together.
What else happens to the daikon to get it like meaty?
We're going to,
Sorry.
Daikon, we're going to marinate it.
It's an episode of Chopped. Ha ha.
And I need another hot pan.
So one thing I think is super interesting about working at the dining hall is Daniel told me that they had a mushroom beef blended burger, and it was available most days of the week. And for sustainability, they decided to bring it down to 1 day a week. And I said, well, what did the students say? He's like, nothing. They were fine with it. So, in many ways, I think they want the students to be involved in their decision making, but in some ways, they can just, like, as long as they're serving delicious food, they can, subtly change elements of the dining hall and really achieve some big goals.
Okay, so now that we have our veg sauteing up, chef is making the cheese sauce. Got to heat up a pan, super hot. When we do this,
What's the sauce that the daikon is in?
sorry.
The sauce that the daikon is in?
So the sauce that the daikon in, this is soy sauce, there is molasses, Vegemite. We have a little bit of cocoa powder.
Vegemite?
Molasses.
Wow.
To kind of give it color, and there's also beet juice in here. So what I'm doing right now is I'm just getting a pan super hot, and it should all come together.
You've got 10 seconds. I think Jennifer's never going to let me do this again.
And nutritional yeast in the cheese sauce. There we go.
I'm not vegan, but I use nutritional yeast anytime I can. I love it so much. All right, so what we might want to do is have your lovely assistant finish the sandwich, and we might want to get the chairs and start our panel.
Okay, so we're just going to finish this up. We're
Oh,
going to
it's
saute
gorgeous.
this just to get a little bit of color, and we'll pull the sandwich together.
It looks like pad see ew or like yuba. I love it. It's a little smoky.
And if you kind of notice, because you did that dehydrating process earlier, the radish doesn't actually break down. So when you bite into it, it'll actually have a nice snap to it.
Ah, cool, cool.
So we'll let this go for, oh, there, it came together really nice.
Okay, so grilled
you, chef.
baguette, the cheese sauce. We got the veggies, onion, bell peppers.
Okay,
It looks like bacon now.
all right.
Yeah, awesome.
Okay, so first we'll take one of the toasted breads here.
Raise your hand if you want to try it. Nice. I like it. I like it.
Thank you, chef. A lot of color down to the.
It just
And
needs
I
a
will
few
actually
a few
sauce it
fermented blueberries on top too to make
on
it
the
make it
plate.
Larissa appropriate. Have you done a vegan banh mi yet?
We have,
Awesome.
and there you go.
Sweet.
And we did this for Earth Day. That's the first time we did this dish. And we served about 800 of these
Oh
in
my
our
gosh.
largest dining operation.
Nice job. Thank you, Daniel. Apologies for asking so many questions.
Thank you, chef. Yes.
All right, so we've got Daniel. If I can get Amanda Cohen to come on up, and Michael Panfil, and Michelle Thorne. You guys have seen a few of these folks. Amanda Cohen is the chef at Dirt Candy. Michael Panfil is the director of Culinary at Compass. Michelle Thorne is at the Good Meat Project, and Daniel Dunguinness is from Stanford. If you guys want to say like one sentence about your focus in your position, because I know we've got a lot of students here, like, and they're interested in how you got there. So let's start with Amanda.
How I got
No,
here.
Just like, I don't know. Just like your elevator pitch on who you are, real quick.
I am Amanda Cohen. I'm a chef from New York City, and I run an all-vegetable restaurant. I think I would consider it the first real all-vegetable restaurant, not only in the States, but anywhere in the world.
That's pretty cool.
Mike Panfil, I work for Compass Group, Director of Culinary, and I guess currently I'm trying to bring, sustainability, blue sky, regen ag, deliciousness to the plates of all of the people we feed.
I'm Michelle Thorne, Executive Director of the Good Meat Project. Woo-hoo!
User of the word baloney.
User of the word bologna, and I actually would nominate Alexandra Family Farm for the dairy billboard to post
Yeah.
their.
I was thinking of Oatly you just need a regenerative farm, like
Totally,
done. They will
100%.
totally share your news.
They would
love
totally
it.
do it.
We do
'Cause
not need big dairy up
they're
there. Let's get a
doing
regenerative up there.
amazing things in regenerative dairy. Sorry, that wasn't a plug for me. That was a plug for them, because that's what we do. We promote farmers and ranchers.
Wonderful.
My name is Daniel Donginis. I'm the executive chef for Lakeside Dining at Stanford University. And I like to focus on nutrition, health, and work on research projects. I've worked on every single research project that has come through the department in the last 7 years. Everything from food waste to nutrition to plate balance. And I like to work on areas that encourage public health and scaling those systems into the community.
Wonderful, wonderful. So I always like to start my panels with like a lightning round, quick hit, and I don't know, I came up with this question because I like to discover new vegetables. What is the most undervalued vegetable now? Daniel.
I don't think it's undervalued now in terms of the visibility, but mushrooms. I think that's something that's recently just come to the center of the plate. Just had a presentation with the Mushroom Council and talking about the nootropic effects of it, especially the new generation. They're very interested in not just the food itself, but what will that food do for me?
Awesome. Michelle?
You know, it's a vegetable that not a lot of people eat. Grass.
Oh.
I think grass is the most undervalued vegetable that converts easily to consumable protein, thanks to ruminants.
It was mentioned twice yesterday, which kind of got me excited, but I think celery root is very undervalued and underappreciated, and just amazing flavor, brings a lot to dishes, so that was mine.
Amanda?
I think the most undervalued vegetable, and I will speak on its behalf, is onion. It's sort of like, the kid who goes to every game and tries its hardest, but nobody's like, hey, you're the most valuable player. But the game wouldn't happen without the onion.
That's good. I remember long ago learning that the reason restaurant cooking was so much better than mine was because of shallots and butter. So I think maybe shallot and onion,
Yeah,
same
shallots,
thing.
onions, butter, salt, oil,
Yeah.
fat.
So, plant-based, plant-forward, vegetarian, vegan have been around for a long time, and we've seen an evolution. So I'm just going to say, 10 years ago to now, how have you changed the way you speak about plant-forward food over this last decade? And Michelle, you have history in the vegan world. I know. So let's, Michael, how have you changed? You've been at Compass for longer than 10 years. Right. So how have you changed talking about that, sustainable category of plants, plant-forward, plant-based? How has it changed?
Well, one of the biggest ways it's changed is the earth bowls and things like that we've been putting together for a long time now. Instead of it just being rice, right? Instead of the option or the default being white rice or brown rice, is really trying to bring more diverse ingredients to the plate, more delicious plants to the plate. And that's really been a massive change for us, is to get more diverse ingredients that are better, more sustainable, the stealth health and wellness piece of it as well, and get people, again, to try it like you do, Chef. Like we have LTOs, we do samplings and things like that, and we work on these the limited time offers until we get it right, we get the taste profiles right, and then we add it to menus and things like that.
Amanda, how have you changed talking about your restaurant, what it is, or what you say to your diners 10 years ago to now?
Well, first of all, we talk about it. Dirt Candy started 16 years ago, and I would say that, for the first 6 years, it was pretty weird to be talking about, we call it plant forward, but then it was called vegan or vegetarian. I was such an anomaly, and nobody really was talking about it. A conference like this wouldn't have existed, certainly when I opened the restaurant. And now, people are educating me as opposed to me educating them. And when people first came into the dining room, honestly, I had many customers who were like, oh, I've never had an all-vegetarian meal or an all-vegetable meal. And I'd be like, really? You've never had, just cereal for breakfast or, a cheese pizza? And, they would just be like, I don't understand what you're saying. And now, my customers aren't like deers in headlights when they come into the restaurant. They sort of know what they're getting into.
Michael, you said, more diversity. Does that mean that you're ordering even more plant-based ingredients than you used to?
I guess it really comes back to like different types of vegetables, different types of grains. Like instead of, like one of the things we're trying to get in more, but again, we have to work with our suppliers to do it, is fonio. Fonio is something that is a great sustainability story, cool cover crop, has a lot of fun to it. You don't even have to cook it, right? It's a labor savings as well, because you literally just heat up some liquid, add the fonio to it, let it sit on the side, toss it up, and it's ready to go. So it's really just bringing more grains and veggies to the plate as opposed to the basic standard items.
Michelle, I know you haven't been with the Good Meat Project for 10 years, but how have you seen the dialogue for meat? Oh, this is a big question. I know. Well, you know, the meat dialogue has really changed 10 years ago to today, and so
Has it, though?
well, I'd say more people are looking for better meat, and more people are looking for less meat. I think, to me, those are the two, you know, at times complementary and at times conflicting messages. So if we were to talk about plant-based and meat, how have you seen that change in the last 10 years? Like the two people together?
Oh, it's a polarizing issue, I think. You know, we have, as human beings, I think we make decisions about our values, right? We connect our food choices, and our choices in general are connected to our values. And I think, you know, we talk about like what's different or what's polarizing or how, you know, we're at these two opposite ends of this issue, but I think there's more that we share in common with our values that connect us than divide us. And I think that when we talk about meat and responsibly produced meat that is regeneratively produced, has humane practices, there's care for land, animals, and people, health outcomes, economic viability. I think we all can agree, like we want to see those things in food production in general, not just like meat production or vegetable production. There are trade-offs on both sides. There is no magic bullet. There is no like, wow, if we do this, then all of our problems will be solved. There's nuance.
But has there been, so
externalities.
back to my question, is there more nuance now than we had 10 years ago?
I don't know the answer to that question, but I think what's changed is our ability to listen to each other. I think in the 80s, 90s, early 2000s, especially when like I was on the other side. I was a vegetarian, vegan, raw food chef in New York City before like Pure Food and Wine, okay? So I was there, I was in it, it's my lived experience. And, you know, having had that experience, it was new, it was fresh, it was exciting, you know, it was sexy to like be able to use food in this way to appeal to our senses, and there was this health, you know, whatever. But I think what has changed is there's a lot of, in our food systems, because food is like, we're so dependent on it, that we've allowed politics and ideology and these very kind of dogmatic ways of making decisions about food. There's a lot of finger pointing.
So yeah, I'm
blaming,
gonna
right?
take it back. But yeah, there is a lot of politics in our food that I would say is very new. And I might talk about that later. But you have a good point, which is it's not as exciting anymore, this like plant-based movement. How do you advocate for people to change their diets? This is for everybody because, you know, you all have such a big role. Daniel, how do you advocate to your students to do something differently or think about their diet differently?
I think, you know, showing by doing. You know, one of the things that, you know, it's an interesting question. Just Chef Andrew and I were just talking about this. And, you know, we do a lot of research, but the part that interests me the most is everything around the food, not just the food itself. Like how food brings people together. You know, what does that mean if your mom, you know, cooks for you in the kitchen? You know, what does that mean when you're actually very intentional about, you know, what you eat? You know, for a while, food, you know, we started to label, you know, vegan, vegetarian, you know, but now we say plant forward. And it's not just the whole fact that, okay, it doesn't exclude meat, but language does a lot to influence decision. And we've done that where, you know, at Stanford, it's a very famous study, and it got published, where, you know, they were naming all the nutritional values of food. And they said, oh, this is good for your eyes, but students wouldn't take it, people wouldn't take it. When we said it was tasty, it was good, you led with flavor, that influences decision. Now, it may be something small, but if you think about that, when we scale it out of university, you can also scale it out there in the world as well. And those are some of the ideas that, we try to kind of propagate through there. And, it's a very simple question. If you ask yourself, why am I eating? From Monday to Friday, you eat pretty much for function. You need energy, you want to feel good. You probably drink coffee in the morning, you maybe have a drink in the evening or some tea, but you drink food for a purpose. Now, if you're going to indulge yourself and you want a dessert, don't get the low-fat one. It's Friday. Go ahead and get your ice cream, get your cheesecake, or whatever you do that. But ask yourself that question and be intentional. And I think that that's a great place to start.
Okay, so Amanda, you've been serving vegetables for 16 years. How do you keep your excitement, and how do you get more people to dine with you now that you have more competition?
I know, the competition's really annoying. I gotta tell you, it was fun at first, but now it's kind of driving me crazy. And then you have people like Chef Daniel who are actually teaching like this younger generation what amazing food is, and then they come to me and I'm like, crap, I've gotta be even better. But that's actually what we do. I mean, we're really lucky. We've sort of had this captive audience for many, many years, and they've grown with us, and I just happen to be like extraordinarily lucky that the movement has grown with us, or I've grown with the movement. I don't know, chicken and the egg and the chicken, I don't know. But we just keep trying to make ourselves better and more exciting, and sort of keep trying to push the boundaries of what vegetable cuisine can be, and hope that people go along on this ride with us. And I'm very, very competitive, so I am always trying to be better than my competitors.
You had a funny stat about some folks that have dined with you a lot. What are some of those numbers you rattled off?
Like hundreds in the hunt. I mean, pandemic really shot those up because we had people who dined with us every day when we had the outdoors, so they're in like the 300s, sometimes twice. But yeah, like our average like super regular is around like 80, 90.
Wow.
Yeah,
wow.
I know, it's weird.
Michael, how many people does Compass feed?
So currently we feed, in the US alone, every day we feed over 13 million meals a day. So a lot going on. To tag on to the teaching piece and how we're getting people to evolve their diets, Deanne Brandstetter, who's in the audience today, our VP of Wellness, who's amazing, brought the Teaching Kitchen Collaborative to us, and we actually use Teaching Kitchen as a platform to teach people how to cook, right? So hands-on, literal skills, teach sustainability, teach stealth health, right? We're not teaching healthy, we're teaching better for you food. We're teaching basic chef skills, and those, you watch the Food Network, right? And it's like you teach those cool chef hacks, and like people walk away with that and they're enamored with it and they want to grow with it. And our hope is that they learn in class, but then they go home and teach it and practice it at home, teach it to their families, teach it to their kids, and try to keep growing the movement that way.
Trojan horses.
Yes.
Yes. Michelle, I feel like the Good Meat Project is maybe the most traditional in advocacy. I know you work with butchers, you work with buyers and retailers. How have you learned to communicate with these folks, and what have you seen that's the most successful that you guys are doing?
So we connect people. We connect them to us. So we provide technical assistance, education, resources to farmers, ranchers, butchers, chefs, and eaters. Retailers, the same. We're right now running our Real Burger of Earth Day promotion.
Wait, say that again?
Our Real Burger of Earth Day. Go Real Burger of Earth Day? Okay. I'm the only one in the, no, it is not. Anyway, so we promote transparency, obviously, talking to each other, connecting with each other, but we also provide the platforms for our stakeholders to connect with each other, because we want to continue the two-way conversation. It's not just a one-way conversation.
And where is it best? Is it the website? Is it email communication? Is it social media? I mean, I'm just like nuts and bolts. How do we advocate
Social
best?
media and in person, us doing this, having this conversation, talking to each other, exchanging information, not necessarily, taking these sound bites that sound really dramatic and maybe, doubling down on them, but really having the conversation about nuance. This is nuanced. It's a very nuanced topic. There isn't just one answer for everybody.
Yeah. Okay. So I do want to take a second, because this is an advocacy panel, to talk about all the bills that are being passed to stop plant-based meats being labeled meat, plant-based milks being labeled milk. Oatly had some nice examples. There's even a bill in Iowa trying to add language to the making it illegal to sell cultured meat. They want to stop SNAP recipients from buying egg replacements, which is like what really out there. You know, why is our food getting more political right now? And I'll just say, who wants to start?
Well, I'll start.
But it's a plant-based topic, Michael.
So, I mean, I think it has a lot to do with, I say all the time, cui bono, who benefits. If you follow the money, I think you get to understand what's at play politically, what's at play on the boots on the ground with the producers. You know, it isn't as much of a level playing field as people, I think, want to imagine that it is. It really is, you know, I asked the question, cui bono, who benefits? At the end of the day, if we are going to have a food system, whether it's regional, national, local, whatever it is, that is resilient, that can survive, you know, supply chain breakdowns like we all experienced during the pandemic, if we want it to be economically viable for producers but also be affordable for consumers, if we want to really like be intellectually honest about the impacts on the environment, we have to like take politics and the agenda out of it, really talk about the nuance on both sides and make decisions that like, who benefits? Who do we want to benefit from this? Do we want like better health outcomes? Do we want better environmental outcomes? Do we want farmers to make money? Like, it's so nuanced.
Yeah. So, Michael, you work for Compass, and that's a company of such a big size that you really can make a difference if you wanted to sort of get in there and like fight some of the politics, right? So if cultured meat can't be sold in, you know, Alabama and Florida, but you guys decide you want to carry it, I mean, this is like, look, 10, 20 years from now, if that. Does Compass want to have a political standpoint when they're thinking about sustainability and like using different ingredients?
Well, I don't think there's enough information out there about it now to say yes or no, right? So cultured meat specifically, like what are the pros, what are the cons? Has there been enough testing? Has there been enough R&D work? What are the health ramifications of it? Are they positive? Are they neutral? Are they negative? I don't think we know. So I don't think Compass is going to step into that arena until there's more fact about what it is. And if it's banned from a certain state and available in another, I just think Compass is too big. It's going to stand back and let the process take its place first to make sure. First of all, we want to see if consumers want it before Compass is going to jump on board. And then second of all, it would be a big political stand to say they would do it.
But even like egg replacements, it's more like it's sort of a vague idea versus like, is Compass going to carry cultured meat?
No, egg replacements are definitely already in the marketplace now within Compass. It's a small amount, but egg replacements are already out there, especially on the college campuses because the students want it.
The students want it.
That's what you're dealing with, right?
Yep.
They want the egg substitute. They want, whether it's allergen-based or dietary-based or belief-based, those things are definitely happening now.
So it's so sad. You guys have such great voices on this panel. I have not gotten to ask nearly enough of my questions, and I'm just going to do a super wrap-up. Each of you gets your own question, but don't take too long to answer. Daniel, what's something you've always wanted to try at Stanford but haven't yet?
So the one point that I want to leave today with is, just like your question, which could last for hours, is, you never know where you're going to end up when you start something. Whether it's a sandwich, whether it's using, egg substitutions, or, anything with legislation or whatnot. So, where something starts is not necessarily where something ends. And I've seen that where a small idea, even though it may seem very minuscule, will over years, make a big difference over time. And if it's not you finishing that path, someone else may pick up where you left off. So don't necessarily give up in the exploration stage to understand or think where it's going to go. Just go ahead and try it. See where it ends up, and maybe someone else will pick up where you left off.
Thanks. Michelle, how can the Plant Forward movement and the Good Meat Project work together better?
promote transparency directionally. I think if we really face that and provide transparency into these worlds with the nuance, fact-based information sharing, not blaming, not pointing fingers, not, grandstanding or virtue signaling, I think it's really important for us to be transparent about our food systems, what's going in, who's benefiting, what are the health outcomes, and, how can we move forward.
And what the CEO's salary is.
Yes.
Yes. Awesome. I like it.
Yes.
Okay. Michael, what have you spotted recently that you're super excited about?
Okay, so food tech nerd in me, I saw there's a company out there called Hyphen I saw in Miami. We did an Envision Summit in Miami, and they have a make table like you'd see in like a Chipotle or something, where all the components are on the table, right? Third pans, ninth pans, and they could be hot or cold in the same pan, so an associate is working the top of the make table, but underneath it's actually automated where it's making bowls underneath as well, so your throughput is amazing with less labor, better food costs, it's portioned out accurately too, so again, just the nerd in me.
Wow. Awesome. I only understood half of that, but I think everyone else out there understood it better than me.
I did not understand that at all. I don't know, there's a salad on the bottom, something happening on the top, it's half hot, half cold.
I'm like, what's a make plate?
Make table.
Make table, okay.
Like I said, like when you walk into Chipotle, the table you see,
Right.
that's the make table.
Okay. It's like all Greek to me and Amanda. Amanda, we're going to end on a light note. And I know you're want to get better because we're all getting better with our veggies. What was the last dish that you created that you were like, yes, that is awesome?
Well, I created this with one of my sous chefs, Michaela. All my sous chefs help participate in the menu, and there's always one dish on the new menu. We just started our spring menu that really makes us all cry a lot. We don't think it's going to be done, but I refuse to give up. So we made sort of a play on a cinnamon roll, and we made a fennel roll, and we had to figure out the dough, and we're not really bakers. And so we put all different kinds of fennel in there, and then we were like, well, let's make like a fennel salad. So then we took all the citrus, and we were like, what are we going to do with the citrus? So we fermented all of it, and then dehydrated all of it. And it's a really, really pretty dish, but it probably has about 10,000 different components, and it's delicious. But, when you see your sous chefs cry, there's a certain satisfaction.
So is that like the Wagyu add-on? You're like, you can have the 10-course dirt candy menu, but if you want the fennel cinnamon bun, it's another $50.
No, we just give it out for free.
Oh my gosh, Amanda. Anyways, thank you so much, everyone. Thank you, guys. This was awesome. Quick self-promotional plug, I have signed copies of my book in the bookstore. I will personalize it if you track me down. Please read it, it's about food tech. And these guys are all great. Please look them up on Instagram and their websites.
And I will say, we are going to a half an hour break. Amanda Cohen will be signing a book, and then I have just a couple of instructions about where you're going to be after that, so if you could hold on real tight. But before that, I did want to, you may have noticed, our demos happen because we have Chef Rebecca Pizer and her team. But I just want to say that one of the great parts of working at the CIA is the incredible talent that exists within our team and our colleagues. And Chef Rebecca, we have Avia, will be in Napa Valley Vintners Theater. The rest of our culinary team, Tony Sakaguchi, our executive chef, do not get they're the behind the scenes people, and you know this. You work in an industry where a lot of times you're there just making sure things are coming out and perfect and people are having a good time. And so we always like to acknowledge Rebecca here, and she has an incredible, And she has an incredible resume. She taught at the CIA, and really her legacy is she's into herbalism and does all kinds of really interesting things. I think just presented at the Research Chefs conference. And so you see her helping all of these demos, but you also know that she is such a great educator herself. So just wanted to call her out, call her team out. Thank you so much. Okay, so we're going to have this break, and then we're going to go into our breakout sessions. And let me just figure out how we're doing this. So I just wanted to say, if you are in seminar A1, which is attracting the next generation to your menu with Chef Paul Smith and Andrea Nguyen, you are here in Ecolab, and this will be at 2:45. If you are with me in how to build bold, enticing vegetable-forward dishes with Raul Correa and Nick Sharma, we're in Napa Valley Vintners Theater at 2:45. That is, when you go out, it's all the way on the other side of the building on the first floor. And then we have our 2 kitchen workshops, one with Stephen Satterfield and the other with Abra Behrens. Those are both on the second floor in Heston Kitchen. And again, the app is going to help you. On the back of your name tags are the sessions that you chose. And so thank you.
I'm Michaela. I'm a sous chef here at Dirt Candy, and today we are going to make the spring roll rangoon. So it starts with a salad. Here we have some torn zucchini. It is the byproduct of the zucchini roll making process. And then we also add in some bamboo, as well as some fresh peeled and minced garlic, a little bit of chopped bean sprouts. And then we add in a mix of herbs. So we have Thai basil, cilantro, scallions, and mint here. And then to finish it, we add fresh squash blossoms. And then we have a dressing here that is made with a vegan fish sauce, as well as Thai chilies, a little bit of palm sugar, and lime juice. Throw a little bit of that in the bowl. Then just mix it gently. And then we grab our ring here. Put it in the center of our plate. Throw in some salad. Then we take our shell, which has been made out of zucchini. We deep fried it. It gets just a small amount of cornstarch on it, and then it makes this beautiful, almost wonton-like shell. And then we also make a cream cheese with Thai chilies and squash blossoms. There's more zucchini, tons of white pepper to be kind of like the crab rangoon filling. And we just fill both sides like that. Make sure it's flat. Place it right on top of our salad. And then if we didn't have enough fresh herbs already, we put a little bit of micro Thai basil right on top. And here is the zucchini spring roll rangoon.
My name is Magnus Young, and I'm the Chef de Cuisine and Culinary Manager at the Cliff Family Winery and Biscuiteria Food Truck in St. Helena, California. The food truck can be found parked outside the Cliff Family Tasting Room, and we serve a seasonally inspired menu with organic produce from our farm on Owl Mountain. Grilled lamb chops with watermelon molasses, sofrito, and polenta is a delicious dish that balances the richness of grilled lamb with the bright and fruity sweetness of watermelon molasses. Let's start with the watermelon molasses. First, break down a large seedless watermelon into chunks and remove any seeds. Puree the watermelon in a food processor. Strain through a fine mesh sieve over a receptacle and press gently on the solids for maximum extraction. Transfer the watermelon juice to a shallow pot and bring to a simmer over medium heat. Skim the surface and reduce the heat to a low simmer. Reduce the molasses by about 2/3, which takes about 4 hours depending on the pot used. Transfer the molasses into a smaller pot as it will prevent scorching around the sides. Simmer for about 1 more hour. The molasses is done when it has a thick, syrupy consistency and a dark burgundy color. The watermelon molasses has a lot of applications, from barbecue sauce, glazes for proteins, to desserts. Transfer to a sterilized mason jar or airtight container, cool and refrigerate. We're going to use this molasses to make our watermelon glaze. Mix all glaze ingredients together in a small bowl. Watermelon molasses, Dijon mustard, finely minced fresh thyme, garlic cloves, grated on a microplane, lemon juice, and olive oil. We'll use this glaze on our grilled lamb chops later. Watermelon pairs really well with savory ingredients, including proteins like lamb. This glaze would be delicious with chicken, fish, or even grilled vegetables. Now we'll move on to making a watermelon sofrito. To a sauté pan, add a half cup of olive oil and some finely minced shallots and poblanos. Sweat over medium-low heat. Add some toasted fennel seeds and Spanish paprika, and continue to sweat down until the mixture starts to stick to the pan. Add a pound of minced watermelon and reduce, stirring every couple of minutes until the mixture is thick. Watermelon familiarizes diners and can be an entryway to try global flavors like this sofrito. Adjust the seasoning with sherry vinegar and salt. Lastly, we'll grill the lamb chops. Preheat a grill or grill pan to high. Season each lamb chop liberally with salt and lightly coat with olive oil. Sear lamb chops until a golden brown crust is formed on all sides. Transfer to a sheet tray with a wire rack. Brush each lamb chop liberally with the watermelon glaze. Transfer to a 300-degree oven for 5 minutes or until the internal temperature of the lamb reaches 135 degrees Fahrenheit. Serve lamb chops over a bed of watermelon sofrito and polenta. Garnish with chopped parsley and mint. Your guests will love the combination of savory and smoky lamb with sweet and fruity watermelon glaze, spiced watermelon sofrito, and creamy polenta. It makes a really beautiful entree.